You've gone out and you bought a Bobber barbecue, just a small, simple tailgate charcoal barbecue. And you think, great, I can cook hamburgers, I can cook brats, I can cook hot dogs on that. But really, am I ever going to use it for anything more than that? Well, I'm going to show you today that you can take something like these beautiful pork loin chops that I've bought here, nice thick pork loin chops. We're going to cook these on the bobber, and I'm going to show you how today on Greg the Grilling Guy. So we've got these pork loin chops. They look to be probably about 1.5 to 2 inches thick. They're really nice, thick, juicy looking. I've had them in the fridge for the last 4 hours. I've brined them with the kosher salt just the same way we always do. I will put a link in this video on how to brine meat if you're not familiar with that process, but we just followed the standard process. So I'm going to take these and set them to the side. I'm going to cook them over a low and slow heat, or as low and slow as you can get with one of these bobbers. And I'm going to put some smoke on there, put a little bit of sauce on them just before I finish them, and then bring them inside. These are going to be great. And again, you can do this on a simple small barbecue just like this. So I'm going to set these aside. I'm going to get the charcoal going. We'll talk about the charcoal lighting process, and we'll see exactly where this takes us. Now, if you're not familiar with how to get the charcoal lit, I do have another video on lighting, so we're going to go very, very brief on this. But I've got my standard tumbleweed lighter. I'm going to put that down in the bowl here. I have my chimney, which I will put in. And I'm going to add this, just some regular cowboy briquette charcoal. I'm not using lump here because I want kind of a longer cook on this. So I'm just going to use the basic charcoal. I'm not going to film myself dumping this in because it will get loud. But we're going to add that in. I'm going to light it up. We're going to get this thing going. So now that I got the charcoal in, I've got it about 2/3 full because I want this cooking fairly hot today. Get the tumbleweed lit, set that back in there. This will probably take about 10 or 15 minutes for the coals to get lit up and going. I'll then dump it in and we'll be ready to go with the pork chop. So we'll see you back here in a few. While the coals finish ashing over, I'm going to put a little bit of rub on these things. Now, as I say, I'm going to sauce them towards the end of the cook, so I'm not going to put a whole lot of rub on here, but just a little something for flavor while they cook. So, you know, we have 2 pork chops here. One is for myself, one is for my wife. Of course, we have to have different flavor profiles because what fun would that be? So for hers, I'm going to put just a basic garlic and pepper and salt rub on there. Just a little shake on for flavor. And then for mine, I've got more of an everything rub. So this has got a little bit more paprika. It's got some brown sugar in there as well as spices, a little dehydrated onion, those types of things. So like I say, not too much on. You do that on both sides. Let those rest for just a couple minutes more. And again, I'm doing this while the coals are heating up so that the pork chops have a chance to come up to temperature. Because they are so thick, I don't want them super cold in the center when I put them on because it's going to take longer to cook to the center and the outsides will dry out a bit more. If you watch the channel, you know that I'm just using some basic duck fat as the binder on here. Let me make sure I'm doing this the right way. And there we have it. That should be good enough. Move this away from the heat source. We are going to dump these coals in and let them finish. You can see the flames coming off of that. I'm going to wait for the flames to die down and those to entirely white over or ash over, as it were. And once that's done, I will put the grill on, let it heat up a bit, and we will put the pork chops on and pick it up from there. The charcoal all set. I'm going to put these pork chops on. I'm going to set them out to the outside. Now, obviously, there's only so much cooking surface that I have here. So I will have to flip these a couple times just to keep them from catching anywhere on the inside. See if I can find the best way to do this. So obviously this is not going to be ideal because we are going to have some of the meat hanging over the hot charcoal. However, we will simply work around that and keep an eye on this cook as it goes through. We don't want any part of this to dry out or get overdone and have other parts be underdone. That's why I'm using the temperature probes inside of there, but we'll figure this out and we'll pick this up in a few. Now, because of the size of these chops, they actually do hang over the coals just slightly. So I'm having to kind of spin them around as I cook, but that actually works out kind of well for a couple of reasons. One, you can see we're losing daylight here, and I want to get this video done before it gets too dark. And two, the one issue with the bobber is when you put the lid on, there's not a really good air circulation, so the coals will start to snuff themselves out after a certain amount of time. So I've actually turned these so that the ambient temperature probe is now hanging out, which means when I put the lid on, it's going to leave a little crack around the side that's going to continue to feed air in there. I'm also going to take a chunk of whiskey barrel and put that directly over top of the coals here, and then I'm going to put the lid on, and that's actually what's going to introduce the smoke flavoring into this. So by having the lid set in such a way that the air will continue to flow and the coals will stay hot, that's actually going to help bring that smoky flavor into it and get the wood chunk smoking, hence introducing the smoky flavor. So we're going to get this thing rolling here. I'll kick the video back on once the smoke gets rolling, but we look to be probably about 30 to 35 minutes away. These things have been on for 10 minutes, which is what I would expect for the bobber. Cooking it in this style, you're probably 45 minutes to an hour because you want to do it more of a low and slow versus just having it over the direct heat. So we'll pick this up once the smoke gets rolling. The thermometer says we're about 13 minutes away from being done the end of the cook. It's usually not correct, mostly because the ambient probes are sticking on the outside, so it has no idea what temperature it's looking at, but it's trying to gauge what's going on internally. You know, because we're losing the light, you can't see it so much, but I wish you were here because the smell of the smoke coming off it, mixing with the pork chops, it's just incredible. You know, I'm really looking forward to this. I have flipped these things a couple times just because of the way they hang over the coals themselves. I want to make sure that I'm getting an even cook. But you can see that they're starting to brown up nicely. I do have my mushrooms over here on the side because, well, hey, you got to eat as much as you can, right? I mean, that's part of being the grilling guy. So I'm going to give these things just another couple minutes, put the lid back on here, and then I'm going to sauce them and get ready to bring them inside. So we're just about done. As I said, this is probably 30, 40 minutes. Is it a convenient cook? No. But it is something like I use a little bit less charcoal when I'm using the smaller barbecue. If I got the time to do it, I like the slower cook. I think it gives it a much better flavor. And honestly, I'm just trying to show you that, you know, most people think this is just a hamburger and hot dog grill. You can do a ton with this. If you're tailgating, you can bring this. You can cook a world-class meal on one of these little things if you know what you're doing. So that's what we're here to teach you, folks. You can see the thermometer trying to tell us we've got 10 minutes remaining. It's probably not accurate. It's probably a little bit closer to 15, but given that we're getting near the end, I'm going to start to sauce these things. My wife likes the sweet stuff, so I've got a bit of teriyaki. I'm going to put it on the one side and let it kind of cook in there, especially with the smoke rolling onto there. It'll give it a nice flavor. We will flip that and do the other side in a few minutes. And for me, I've got a honey habanero barbecue sauce because I like the heat. So that's why we're such a good match. Lid's going back on. We'll give them about 5 or 6 minutes. I'll flip them over, I'll sauce them again, and then they should be ready to go inside. You can actually see that smoke starting to come out now. Temperature-wise, we're about 5 to 7 minutes from being done, so we're going to sauce the other side of these things. You feel them firming up a bit, so 145 is going to be nice. They're going to be firm, but they're going to be really juicy in the center. I'm also going to let these things rest in the barbecue bag when I take them off, so they probably got, like I say, 7 minutes before we take them in. As you can see, it's 1 minute showtime. We're right about that 40, 42, 45 minute mark, which is exactly where I thought we were going to be. So let's take a look at these things. They're probably perfect right now. As a matter of fact, I just see an alert showing up on my phone saying time to take them off the grill, which is exactly what we're going to do. So again, everybody, this may look like a basic barbecue. You can cook gourmet meals on this thing. You can see these things are just beautiful looking. The temperature on them is going to be perfect. I cooked them to 145. That's exactly 142 that one, 145 on this one. That's exactly where I want them to be. If you want them done a little bit more, a little bit faster, you can certainly leave the lid off and cook it more like a traditional grill. You can cook anything on a bobber if you know what you're doing. And that's the aim of this channel, is to take, backyard barbecuers and teach you how to cook on these things that everybody says you can't do that on. You're going to impress your friends. So I hope you really like it. If you do like what we're doing, please hit like and subscribe. You know, it helps the channel grow. Drop a comment in there. Tell me anything you're looking to learn how to do. I would certainly love to teach you. If I don't know, I need to learn myself, so that would be great. Everything I've used in this video, I have a link to Amazon links in the description below. So if there's anything you really like what you see or what's going on, please feel free to click that. Until next time, I'm Greg the Grilling Guy. Look at these beautiful things. Grill it real good.